4 days after Tim died, I met a woman who is a phenomenal woman that I'm so lucky to have in my life. I'm so lucky. Both her and her sister are psychic mediums. And we met kind of by chance, but maybe nothing's by chance. And we were talking, and she told me that she was a medium, and I related some of my experiences, that I had had similar experiences, and I, understood a little bit about it, but I'm not a medium. I'm not that's not my profession. It's not something I've even desired to do as a profession. But this was something that she was doing full time. And I told her that I had just lost somebody and I didn't know if he was around, but I had no intention of communicating with him. A week after Tim died, when it was announced that he had died by suicide, I lost my shit. I lost my fucking shit. Intuitively, I knew that that was the reason right away. And I know that there are conspiracies out there about how or why he died. I'm not going to talk about all those, but I do want to talk about what happened next. It was approaching my 40th birthday that weekend. I had been planning a party for several months, actually about a year. And I was really trying to show up and have a good time because this was really important to me. Like living till I was 40 as somebody who had struggled with addiction, different abuse and traumas, and a lot of health issues my entire life. I just felt like it was a fucking miracle that I was going to live to 40. It's still a fucking miracle, even that I'm alive now, even amidst all the problems that I've had and continue to have. Every day that we have, that we live, is so important and so valuable. I know it doesn't always feel that way, but I was just trying to, have a good celebratory weekend. And it was so painful because all I could think about was Tim. So I text messaged this woman asking her if I could talk with her. And so we set up a time. We talked later that evening. And as soon as I called her, I just asked, what happens when people die by suicide? And she said, he's still around you. He's been around you since he passed away. And he wants you to know there's nothing you could have done. And she said, he's there with you now. Let's hang up, go talk with him. So I went into the other room. And I had a candle that I had saved from when I was at his house. I was doing a meditation instruction, and I had a candle in my bag, and I had an altar set up in my bedroom where I had these candles and some rainbow lights. And so I sat there and I just started talking with him. I had hung up with the woman, so my phone, we weren't connected anymore, and I just started saying, "I'm so sorry that you were in so much pain. I wish there was anything that I could have done, and I would have done anything." And I was, sobbing, and I could feel him next to me. I could feel his energy, and I knew he was just sitting right next to me. And I had read a lot of articles, and I want to say I didn't know who Avicii was. I didn't know who Tim was as an artist when I met him and was working with him. I mean, I just didn't know who Avicii was. Like I didn't know that his music, I didn't know his songs. I had, of course, heard Levels and Wake Me Up and Hey Brother, while I was out shopping or in the car, but I didn't know who the artist was. And I didn't even know that the same artist made all those songs. So that week after he died, I started reading the articles about the health issues that he had had and about the documentary that had been made about him. And also one article was talking about how, women used to throw their underwear at him when he was performing. And I was sitting there, and somehow in my altar, there was a pair of underwear, and I just started laughing so hard because it was like I had thrown my underwear at him from So it was so, it was really funny. It was really funny. And I started playing his song Levels, and I just recorded the candlelight in the altar. And I actually posted this on Instagram, so I'll just play that for a moment. So I made this recording of this moment, and I kind of felt like he left, and I just was coming back to this sort of normal space, and I looked at my phone, and the woman, and I'm only just not naming her right now because I haven't talked to her about making this video, and I don't want to blow up her world without her permission and consent, but she is very special, and I do hope that people will see her and meet her sometime too. But she texted me and she said, he just showed up here, and she said this. So I'm just going to write what he showed me. He popped into my space, and this can happen. For you, I was okay with it, so no worries there. His smiling face, blowing out a candle next to you, his music was on. I'm not sure how you relate to a rainbow or a rainbow candle. He's no longer in pain. So she followed up by saying that he clearly wanted to communicate with me. And so we set up a time for the 29th, which was my 40th birthday. And that day, I showed up, I sat down and had a conversation with her. And as soon as we connected, he started talking about things through her that nobody else could have known. Nobody could have known because they weren't there with me. These were things that were happening when I was by myself in my bedroom, or when I was working with him one-on-one, and some of the conversations that we were having. Every detail, what I had done the night before at my birthday party, that he was there, and some of the things that people gave me and that were around me, he was talking about, like, exact things. And also what even I was wearing when I was at his house, and even the jewelry and the skirt and the dress, and really funny details about those things that I'm going to spare you guys right now. But it was very, very specific about what we had talked about, what we were thinking and feeling when we were together, and what was happening, like when I left his house, and what had been going on in my life, even my whole life leading up to that point, and things that I had been seeing and thinking and feeling that week after he died. Every detail was very specific. And this conversation went on for hours. And during that conversation, he was extremely insistent that I start writing about my experiences in my life and my experiences with him. And he really wanted me to share my experiences with him. And there were a lot of things, that he started talking about, like, go home tonight, start writing this down. So I had notebooks that I started filling, that I was recording our conversations in, and writing, what I felt he wanted me to communicate. And one of the things was about the Tim Bergling Foundation. I started writing about that night. That was April 29th, 2018. This was before the Tim Bergling Foundation was announced, and before I had spoken with his family, and they told me that he was going to do it. And I said, yes, it's the Tim Bergling Foundation. And this was why, because I had been communicating with him, and he had been telling me exactly what he wanted to be said.